Hello, welcome to our show, Wireless News Mobile World Congress coverage. I'm Roberta Prescott, and I'm joined today by José Ríos. He is the CEO of Celistics. Celistics is a logistic company that manages devices throughout Latin America. Last year, you managed 192 million devices. Yes. It is a really increase from other years, right?
Yes, 2014 was a fantastic year for us in that sense, that we increased over 50% the amount of units that we did between 2013 and 2014. And we did not really increase our footprint, so it was really an increase in the amount of products that we moved through the structure of the company.
But what did push this growth? I mean, carriers and point of sales, they just started to ask more devices because people are renewing their smartphones or future phones?
It was a combination of things. I think we have a huge increase in the SIM cards. You know, we specialized in SIM cards since a year and a half ago. We are now distributing all 5 major producers of SIM cards around Latin America, including in Brazil. We're doing very well with that. And that adds a big number and also a strategic number, because the SIM card is a key component of the mobility of the future, not just of the present. So that was part of that. We included new products. We also had a higher consumption of smartphones all over Latin America, because the feature phones have gone down, less people are buying them, and we really never focused on the feature phones. So we lost very little with the decrease of the feature phones, and we gained a lot with the increase of the smartphones. So it's a combination. There were some countries that grew the number of units more, and others less, but overall was a fantastic year.
You mentioned M2M. Internet of Things is highlighted here at the Mobile World Congress, and actually Brazil, I guess, is number 4 in the adoption of it. How M2M is going to, or if M2M is going to change your business or become it more complex, because it's you start to manage even more and more ships?
Yes, you're managing sensors, whether we call them SIM cards or not. I mean, we'll see what the commercial name is. But in the sense, when the cars start coming out, as they're promising to start coming out next year, with hundreds of sensors in the car to tell you more, there will be a lot more SIM cards or equivalent that will be operated by us. In the clothes, there will be SIM cards. I mean, there's all kinds of uses. There's a lot of GPS products. I mean, we have some, and that has been an increase of the number of units that we're doing, that we're distributing now. Some very interesting GPS applications, those have SIM cards as well. So that's a very interesting part of our business.
And a major part of your what you manage come from Asia, 85%. How difficult is to do the whole logistic between Asia and Latin America?
Well, they're the 2 furthest removed parts of the world. When you go to, from Brazil to Singapore, it's 12, 13 hours time change. So you're exactly at the opposite end of the earth. You cannot come from further. At the same time, from Asia, it's not just one country, but Korea is a significant, South Korea is a significant producer of mobile phones, both with Samsung and also LG, and we have phones produced in many different countries, manufactured for other manufacturers. We have Taiwan. In Taiwan, you have HTC, and there's a lot of producers there from different countries. We do an incredible job with that. I think we're recognized as the industry's best in doing that. Our efficiency is over 98.5%. And not only that, but we have developed a system, and that's why we call Celistics intelligent logistics, not just logistics. We have developed a system to monitor every single flight, every single ship, every single truck or bus where we do this, know exactly what's happening, what are the problems that they may have in changing their schedule, whether there are storms or physical problems that may happen to the planes, and then how to change the route so that we will avoid the problem and still stick to the original schedule or better than what we had planned. So we do very well. It's a very dedicated team. It's part of the company that we call Sure Destiny. We have 4 control towers in different parts of the world to monitor exactly what's going on in real time, every single one of those of that, and that's a very basic part of our success. It's an important part of our success. With that, we bring them from where they're produced, to the countries. That's what we call international logistics. Then from there, then we go into the national logistics part, where we distribute them either to the operator or to distributors from the operator, or to independent distributors, or to stores. Some 100,000 stores in Latin America where the products are at the end delivered. That's what we call the national logistics. And then one of the new areas of Celistics is that we have developed through the software a way to continue being in touch with those phones as they reach the retail outlets. And we know when those retail outlets run out of one brand of phone or one type of phone, when they need more, and we are able through our systems to recircle that and to feed that into the planning process so that they can be replenished. And that is adding a lot of efficiency for our customers, specialized for each one of them, and with total visibility from them, because they can, from their desk, from their monitor, see where each one of their shipment is, where each one of their phones is, whether it is in China, or in Curitiba. They know exactly where they're at.
And when you look at those keyboards, what trend can you pick up regarding adoption of mobile and M2M across Latin America? What can you disclose about what's trending in each country?
Yeah, I think Latin America is doing very well. We have some interesting challenges. One of our first challenge is how do we make sure that every place in every country is covered by 3G, 4G, eventually 5G, so that they can have access to the wealth of services, information, education, and work solutions that comes with the phone. Because the phone is no longer something to just talk on, it's something that is the most essential instrument in our life to communicate, but to communicate, to learn, to absorb, and to participate in life. So we need to make sure that they're not parts of any of our countries that are secondary, that are segregated, where there is no service. That's where the public-private partnerships need to operate. But it's not just the private industry that needs to do that. The government needs to get into that, both with regulation and also with helping give incentives, for the operators to, to do that, so that we can, first of all, incorporate every Latin American into this. We have some figures, which often we see in the newspapers, where we are over 100%. There is over 100% subscribers of, of mobile phones. Well, that's only partially true, because there are so many people who have two, that there's a number of people, and when you analyze it in depth, there are some areas of countries where people just don't have the access to that, or whether the access is totally unsatisfactory, that you're downloading a photo, and you take 2 hours to download that, so you don't want to download anymore because of the price, and also because it's not a good experience to do that. That's where we need to improve the service so that it can be a better experience, and then where you not only in theory have the access to the system, but in reality you can not only have access but use it.
Actually, yesterday GSMA told us the real penetration today, and when they count unique subscribers, excluding M2M and people who have two phones, it's about 52%. So it's rather. Another thing that I would like to discuss is that something very particular in Latin America is that the number of vendors. In Brazil, I was told it's 23 vendors that you manage. Yeah. How the Latin America market is different from the US or Canada market, and how this large number of vendors make your operation more difficult?
I think it makes it more fun. In the United States, because of the size and in the United States you can find everything. I'm not going to say anything different, but in the normal retail operations that are really managed by one of the big four telecom companies in the United States, you can find a limited number of devices and brands. In Latin America, you can find about twice as many. And obviously, we are in some countries more than others. Brazil has a large number, but it's not the largest because it has a manufacturing component that requires from the manufacturer. So some manufacturers would like to distribute in Brazil, but they don't have the certainty that they will reach a number that will allow them to manufacture. So then maybe they don't do that. That in other countries they don't have that minimum or they don't have that requirement, so they just go and distribute it there. There's a number of Chinese brands, some with Chinese names and others not with Chinese names, but that are Chinese phones that are very extensively represented in Latin America. And you have some of those brands that are in no global summary of the large brands that are very important in a country like Mexico or in Central America, and that they are not the Samsungs and Apple, and all of that. You have brands like Alcatel, that actually is a Chinese phone, and. Yeah, and that it has very strong penetration in Latin America. What a Nokia does in Latin America is different than what it does today in the United States. Or in Europe. BlackBerry, you still find BlackBerry in some countries in Latin America where there's a very strong loyalty to BlackBerry. In the United States, it's very hard to find a BlackBerry in a regular store. You can find it if you go to Amazon or somewhere like that, but you have to do that special effort, to go find it. And the same like that, there is a lot. We like that, and we are able. That's why, with being the intelligent logistics, we can manage them all. We don't get confused by that, and we think that adds to the competition, that adds to the customers being able to get good phones, smartphones at a relatively low price, in spite of the fact that all those prices in Latin America are normally higher than what they would be in the United States. It's still low compared to the market, and that it adds to people really finding what kind of phone and what kind of service do they want to do for their needs and for their family. Because one very interesting thing that happens is that once one member of the family goes from a feature phone, to a smartphone, the whole family goes smart. Because you start generating pictures, how can I share them, movies, all kinds of messages, and then everybody wants to share into that because they realize that's how we want to use part of the smartphone, and I cannot do that, with a 2G phone. So that's part of the migration that is happening as well.
Yeah, and my last question is regarding to Celistics. Present a growth in the revenues about 25% last year. So I would like you to know if you could discuss any numbers or tell me how this growth happened, and in a scenario that we see a lot of currency devaluation. Yes. In local currency in countries compared to U.S. dollars. Yes.
No, it's part of the units, because we had more units, then we also had a larger income, a larger revenue. And that revenue grew by 25% last year in dollars. And what you're saying is perfect. It's exactly right. A number of our currencies in Latin America were heavily devaluated. So when we're reporting in dollars, it meant that in each country we grew more than what we grew in dollars, because we have to generate more of the local country. Local currency being reais or soles or whatever, in order to get those dollars that we're talking about. But that was part of growth. That was part of efficiency. This is I think we are very happy that it's a well-managed company. It's a very solid company, and it prepares it very well for going into 2015. As a matter of fact, January 2015 was very good. So it looks like next GSMA or Mobile World Congress, we're going to be able to sit down here with you and also share what the figures were for 2015.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you, Roberta. Thank you. Very nice.
I'm Roberta Prescott. Follow all Mobile World Congress coverage at rtlwireless.com.